You know, in the world of tech, giants aren't born overnight. They're usually built over decades, brick by brick. But what happens when a 5-year-old company suddenly becomes so valuable, it threatens to knock over the entire established order? Well, that's the incredible story we're getting into today. Alright, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll start with a valuation that is so big, it's almost hard to believe. Then, we'll look at the old guard, the titans, who have dominated the industry for decades. After that, we'll trace the explosive rise of their new AI challenger. See how these two ways of doing business are now clashing head on. And finally, we'll peer into the crystal ball and ask, what do the next 5 years look like? So let's kick things off with a number that's sending shockwaves from Wall Street all the way to Law Street. This is really the story of how a company that didn't even exist 5 years ago has become a behemoth, seemingly out of nowhere. And this really gets to the heart of the whole conflict. We're not just talking about one company getting big. This is a fundamental battle between two completely different philosophies. The slow, steady, perfecting process of iteration versus the lightning strike disruptive force of pure innovation. Okay, here it is. The number that's causing all this commotion, $380 billion. That is the jaw-dropping valuation of Anthropic, an AI company that was founded in, get this, 2021. In just a handful of years, that single number has launched it into the absolute highest stratosphere of global tech capital. To really wrap your head around how huge that is, you have to see this comparison. On the left, you've got Anthropic's $380 billion. And on the right, that's the combined value of India's four largest, most legendary IT firms. We're talking TCS, Infosys, Wipro, and HCLTech. That's right. A 5-year-old startup is now worth nearly 40% more than four industry titans put together. Okay, so to really get why that valuation is such a bombshell, we need to rewind a bit and look at the giants that are now in the crosshairs. These are companies that built their empires on a model that basically ran the tech world for decades. And the engine that powered them for all those years was a pretty simple but brilliant concept called labor arbitrage. The whole idea was to tap into the incredible talent pool in a place like India and then provide those skills and services to higher cost places like Silicon Valley. And for decades, man, that model worked flawlessly. This whole model was about one thing: people, human scale. It relied on hiring these massive teams of brilliant engineers to handle all the stuff that big global tech companies needed done. You know, the routine coding, the endless software testing, the critical but unglamorous back office maintenance. You were paying for thousands upon thousands of human hours. And the Indian IT giants were the absolute best in the world at delivering that. But here's the thing, that entire model, the one that built empires, is now being challenged by something completely new. So let's meet the innovator in this story, Anthropic, a company whose rise has been, well, nothing short of meteoric. Just look at this timeline. It's absolutely wild. It starts in 2021, founded by a brother and sister duo, Dario and Daniela Amodi, who actually left OpenAI. Fast forward to February 2026, a single funding round skyrockets their valuation to that mind-bending $380 billion US. That kind of acceleration just doesn't happen. It completely rewrites all the rules. And you know what's really fascinating about their origin story? Anthropic wasn't just some business idea. It was born out of a fundamental disagreement. The Amodis decided to leave OpenAI because they had a different vision than Sam Altman. So this wasn't just about money. It was a mission to build AI in a different way, guided by a really strong set of core principles. And believe me, the biggest players in the world took notice. They bought into that mission big time. This isn't just random venture capital. We're talking a who's who of tech and finance. Amazon, Google, Microsoft, and Nvidia. When all of them put their chips on the same company, the rest of the world has to sit up and pay very close attention. Okay, so this is it. This is the moment where these two completely different worlds smash into each other. You have the established human-powered iterative model on one side and the new AI-driven innovative model on the other. This is the new war for the future of enterprise technology. And when you put them side by side, the differences are just there night and day. The legacy model scales with huge human teams and bills by the hour. The new model? It uses AI agents, like Anthropic's Claude Code, to get the job done for a tiny fraction of the cost. The old world runs on labor arbitrage. The new world runs on pure raw AI-driven efficiency. It is a genuine paradigm shift. Now, if you want a statistic that makes this whole shift feel less abstract and way more real, check this out. It's estimated that 4% of all the public code commits on GitHub, which is the biggest software development platform on earth, are now written by Anthropic's AI agent Claude Code. Just let that sink in for a second. So what does that mean? The implication is just massive. We're talking about something called agentic AI. This isn't an AI that just answers a question you ask it. No, you give it a complex goal and it works on its own to figure out how to achieve it. It can write code, it can debug code, it can even take old legacy code and modernize it, all by itself. These are the exact jobs that used to take up an entire floor of junior developers. And look, this isn't some far off future potential we're talking about. This is real money flowing right now. Anthropic's annual run rate revenue has reportedly blasted past 14 billion US dollars. And that money is coming from Fortune 500 companies who are paying them to use these AI agents to do serious work for way less than it used to cost. This level of disruption is causing so much anxiety in the market that they've actually coined a term for it: the SaaS apocalypse. Investors are starting to ask some really tough questions. I mean, if a big company can just use an AI agent to manage its own data and write its own software, why would it keep paying for these gigantic multi-year contracts with external IT service firms? Alright, so that brings us to the fallout, the real-world consequences. Let's look at what's happening right now and what the market is betting on for the future as everyone tries to recalibrate for this new age of AI. The market's reaction? Oh, it's been fast and it has been brutal. In just a single month, the NIFTY IT index, which is the scorecard for India's biggest tech companies, has dropped by over 20%. That's its steepest fall since the pandemic hit in 2020. That is a loud, clear signal that investors are taking this AI threat very seriously. And if you want to put a dollar figure on that fear, on that recalibration, it's a big one. This market shift has reportedly erased 50 billion US dollars of value from the Indian IT sector. So while Anthropic is soaring, the legacy giants are taking a serious hit. What all this is starting to look like is a classic zero-sum game. This isn't a situation where a rising tide is lifting all boats. No, the market is betting that Anthropic's growth is coming directly at the expense of the old guard. One side goes up and the other side goes down. So what's the forecast for the next few years? Well, it's pretty stark. The general consensus is that this massive valuation gap we are seeing, it's only going to get wider. The projection is that the traditional IT services sector will either shrink or at best see very slow growth, while these AI native companies like Anthropic and OpenAI are just going to continue to surge as their technology becomes essential. And so all of this, it leaves us with the one big question that's going to define this new era of technology. For decades, steady, scaled-up iteration built global empires. But now we have to ask, in the new age of AI, who is really built to win? The iterator who perfects the old game? Or the innovator who invents a brand new one? If you enjoyed this, like the video, drop your thoughts in the comments, subscribe